Hello everyone, my name is Catherine Ferreira. I am the host and owner of Gem and Me. I want to take the time today to introduce myself. Who am I? I'm a young, proud, first-generation Latina, born and raised in Washington Heights. I have excelled in my life with adversity, hope, belief, motivation, and most importantly, the power in me. And I believe everybody has their own power inside themselves. And I want to share this platform with you to be able to explore and dig very deep inside of you to find the blessings, the gifts that you were given to become the best version of yourself. So thank you so much for joining today to the Gem and Me podcast. I hope to give you blessings, aha moments, many gifts really that you have within yourself to be able to unfold and find those within you. Thank you for listening today and welcome to Gem to Me. The power is within you. Hello everyone, thank you for being here today. Gem and Me here. I want everyone to welcome Sophia. Sophia, who is Sophia? So to me, she is a friend, she is a coworker, she's a beautiful soul. We kind of got closer, I guess, when we finished Test and Trace. But she was an amazing team player, always reliable, always there. And she was always able to help and open to help others. So thank you so much, Sophia, for being here. It's an honor to have this relationship with you even after our experience at Test and Trace. But I want you to give us a little background of who you are and of course what role you played in Test and Trace.
So hello everyone, my name is Sophia. My main role in Test and Trace was a community engagement specialist. But before I began Test and Trace, I wanted to become a doctor, and this is still one of my goals. However, the pandemic has put the brakes on that for now. Now that we're at a different light, of course, I'm going to pursue that. But I had a biology major, and I was really interested in the public health sector and social work. It's something that I think I'm going to continue to pursue even when I achieve my goals. It's something that I find myself intrigued by. And I started Test and Trace in June 2020, yes. And it's been a long road, but I think we're here now, and me and Catherine have become closer. And, we enjoy each other's company, and, we are great friends, but also she was my supervisor. So that's why I wasn't her friend before. Yes, that's pretty much all.
Oh, thank you. So I know that everybody went through their own transformation or evolution, really, of your person, and we lost people and we became other people, and we reflect. What was the pandemic impact on your life and the Test and Trace experience, of course?
Yes, the very beginning of the pandemic, I worked as a nanny. So right off the bat, I was unemployed because households were being closed down, It's really normal for me. I actually even had an expectation of picking that up and keep going. Thought, sooner or later on, 2 weeks, we'll be back together. And this is in March. It was really naive of me to think that, but, we didn't have the information we had now. So in the very beginning, it was just very hopefulness. It was the hopefulness of the communities and trusting that everyone was going to continue doing the right thing, which I thought was self-isolating, quarantining, staying home, avoiding excess, outdoor time or meeting other people and keeping your bubble close. And I actually got a shock of wow, the world really doesn't care. And a lot of people don't care. But there is a lot of people that do care. And luckily I was surrounded by a lot of those and surrounded by people who didn't really care. So it was just a lot of mixed emotions, a lot of hope, and a lot of realization of my community and what I could be there for them. So once I started in June, so it was a very short amount of time, 4 months of being unemployed, not knowing what to do. I really felt like I found my calling for the time and was able to be part of my community in many different ways. but also be that person for my family. I was that person that even today people look at me and say, Sophie, how's COVID doing? Like, and I was really grateful for that opportunity because I was really knowledgeable and I was updated on the trainings very often from New York City Health and Hospitals.
Wow, that's so powerful. Yeah, I feel like as younger and the first generations here, a lot of people or our community rely on us for like everything, right? Like what's going on? Where can I get this? How can I get that? Can you call here? Like, we're
Definitely.
like the advocates.
All those appointments you could think of, even the vaccination appointments or when the vaccines came out, but all the COVID appointments, everything, go here, the lines are shorter because we had access to that. We had the New York City like live time waiting, or even when I was at the clinics and just like, hey, there's no line today, come get tested. Like,
Yeah.
it was just as simple as that, me, that point person in my family.
Yeah, I feel like that was a blessing and a curse, but more of a blessing, right? That we were able to like have so much access and be in the front lines, even though we were risking, right? You guys were risking your lives in the fields most of the time and going out to different boroughs, and we were flying the plane as we built it. It was crazy, but I feel like you handled it well. Like from my experience as a supervisor, I feel like you always were on your toes. Like, where do we have to go? What do we have to do? And I feel like that energy is what we needed because half of the time, as supervisors, we didn't have the information that you guys were asking for because the leadership didn't, obviously give us that information on time, or they just didn't know what the hell was going on. Basically, half of the time.
I think that made it easier too, knowing that like you were very relatable, and I think you were very open as a supervisor and being able to say, I don't know that. While, other people, not necessarily in our thing, but just people overall probably will just, lie or like, try to comfort you, sugarcoat it. And just simply saying, I don't know was really helpful because it's like, wow, this is we're all navigating the unknown together.
Yeah.
And even the person who's supervising me is too. So that was really helpful in that way. For me, of course, other people really need the details. And I'm just like, you know what? I've been in this game far enough.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in a pandemic, I feel like as health professionals, you should have these expectations that most of the time people are just figuring it out, right? And if you've been in the game long enough, you kind of know that, right? But some people need the details, right? And it was frustrating. Honestly, as a supervisor, it was frustrating many times where as a supervisor, I had the expectations to delegate to you guys, make things happen, right? Give the information, but then it's like, you're not giving me what I need. Like, how am I supposed to make things happen if you're telling me like the morning of that people need to be in Brooklyn, right?
I remember those days.
And it was so frustrating. And I remember I put my foot down one day. I remember this was after that incident that, some Jews were like burning masks in Brooklyn.
Yes.
And it was like, and then the next day they wanted you guys, my team, to go to Brooklyn. I was like, nope, not happening to my team. I'm not going. They're not going. This is not happening. And so my supervisor, he's like, you're gonna probably face some consequences. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm not putting my life and my team's life on the line. If we're having these people burning masks in Brooklyn, sorry. Not.
And I remember that because if it was a week earlier, if that would have happened a week earlier, I was there. I was in Brooklyn and Queens 1 week, both times of that week. And I remember when that happened, that was a Monday, and I was so happy I was off because I was still checking my emails and stuff. And then, other coworkers were texting me like, oh, they're gonna send us to Brooklyn today. And I was like, there's no way. And then I remember some people had to get rushed home. Like they had to like leave and just go home because of whatever was going on. They were worried about the nightfall. Yeah. And I was just so lucky. I was like, I'm so lucky I wasn't out in the field today.
Yeah, it was so crazy. It was insane. But I feel like, I would say like you and I, overall, I feel like everybody kind of made it through. Some people obviously left before, or it wasn't a great experience for them. For many reasons, right? Because it was a new environment for everybody, and it was like a learning curve most of the time. We're learning as we like went. So from overall, I hear that you enjoy your experience in test and trace, but like kind of dig a little deeper of like how your experience was, not with me, but like overall, like the program.
I hated knowing. Honestly, I feel like some form of ignorance was bliss. Because I found myself a lot contacting patients who were not in the city or in the state, and they had just recently traveled, and breaking the news and letting them know that they were positive, and or contacts of people who were positive. That was my role. So it was really hard to even like let go of myself, vacation myself, go to bars, go to restaurants. And it was a fear that I had for my family. So to be very honest, I got in a lot of arguments with people in my family because I was very protective of the elderly in my family and the young. I feel like because it was my role, because I was knowledgeable, I could share experiences of what I experienced in my role, and like tell them like, listen, this is something that happens. And I know it's just Thanksgiving and I know it's just Christmas, but I was there during the surges of Thanksgiving and Christmas on the phone all day, talking to people, hearing their cries, and like it wasn't easy. And people even arguing in front of me in clinics about who gave it to who. It doesn't matter now. Like, that's my yeah, but people would really and I found that in my role, but also in my personal life, like just being that person trying to figure it out. And I lost a lot of respect for some adults in my family because I felt like they didn't respect the law. Honestly, at that moment it was a law. It was a big suggestion, but I feel like it was law for a lot of people. And for me, it was law. Not more than a suggestion, it was law. And yeah, I really protected my grandmother and my grandparents. And I told them, like, please stay home. Please just reject anyone who comes to your door if they're not wearing a mask. Like, please don't risk it. Like, we can eat together with a mask on, and we have birthday parties where we're just all wearing a mask, and like certain households are sitting down and eating together, and then other households take turns, So I feel like in that way, I was really paranoid and worried for my family.
Yeah, because you were there like listening to people's stories, and it's like, my family is not any different. Like this could happen to us, right? It's like being to like, oh my God, like this is real. Like this is real. Like some people I feel like in our culture are very ignorant when it comes to like, oh, like, Christmas, birthday parties, whatever, Thanksgiving, like, oh, it's not gonna happen. Like we're fine. Just because we're
It's very
fine.
beautiful to think about it in that way too, because it's like they're prioritizing family over everything. But in reality, you're not. You're risking your family to celebrate with family. And I understand people were COVID tired and stuff, but it was so hard to be that person, like, and being isolated too. I was more isolated than everyone else in my family because I live also far from them. Yeah. So that was another layer of like isolation.
Yeah. What was one of your proudest moments at Tess and Trace?
Advocating for our group. I don't know if I don't want to name drop, but do you remember the St. James location?
Mm-hmm.
I advocated heavily for the workers there and for myself because I didn't feel safe working there. Mm-hmm. There wasn't enough COVID parameters to like make it feel safe. I felt like while I was doing my job, I wasn't keeping other people from having their lunch. So I felt like every single time I got sent there, I said, no, I don't want to go. Can someone please fix this, or write a heavily worded email and like tell my superiors about it, because it wasn't safe. And I feel like the moment they said, oh, well, St. James is not remote, I was just like cheering on because I remember what it felt like to be working. Right. Catherine, I was working, talking to people over the phone, and people next to me having their lunch with their mask off. You can't eat with a mask on. Exactly. So for me, I feel like that was a big thing. I was like, wow, I finally spoke out. Because a lot of people were just like, oh, just leave it. Like even my partner, he was like, oh, well, don't worry about it. Like, don't worry about it. It was like, there's nothing you can do. Right. I was like, okay, great. And I explained what's wrong here. Then maybe someone can listen. Maybe.
Yeah, you made it happen. I feel like it was a journey, really, because I feel like you weren't the only one, talking about it.
I definitely wasn't the only one that felt that way, but I don't know anyone else who spoke about it, but I know there was other people who spoke about it. I don't know them personally, but I wasn't the only one that felt that way about St. James.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I remember going there a couple of times and it was the same thing. It's like, we didn't have our designated space. It was people having lunch, hanging out basically. And then, you guys trying to talk on the phone. So that was not good. But yeah, I feel like most of our experience together, I feel like one of them, the proudest moments, I guess, for me was like leading you guys. And even though most of the time there was like uncertainty, but that we kept together and like we made it happen. And it was like open communication and being honest with each other and being there for each other, right? With our frustrations, with our like, uncertainty. But I think like overall it was a good experience because we had each other. Some people didn't feel the same thing, but let's not, generalize the thing. But it was good. So apart from the test and trace, I feel like I want to move a little bit to kind of know who you are and like maybe a transitional moment in your life that shaped like who you are. Um, I know we haven't really had a chance to kind of dig deep into like personal life and things like that because of what you said. I was super to answer you. But I feel like now we can do that, right? We don't have that. But yeah, share with us maybe a pivotal or like transitional moment in your life that you feel like really shaped you to the person you are now.
Oh, wow, who am I, right? That's a big question. Like, I think a big part of me is wanting to pursue higher education. I feel like in that way, when I decided to do that, because for a really long time in high school, I remember I was like, I want to be a beautician. And there's nothing wrong with beauticians, but it was something that I enjoyed. And even now I do it in my personal life, like, do my sister's graduation makeup and stuff like that. And I think one of the moments that it did change my future myself was pursuing higher education. And when it came to choosing what I wanted to study in, it was really just like, what do I like? What don't I like? And one of the things that I like is helping others. And one of the things that I love is science. So for me, the perfect formula was like being something in the public health area. In my view and my world, I felt like being a doctor is going to be that, is going to help me help the community, keep in touch, be that brown Mexican doctor that other people, patients can see. Yeah. And having Spanish with me was very important. So I was raised speaking Spanish, but it was not something that I was proud of because it wasn't good Spanish. It was very broken up, I would say, or very bilingual in my speech. Even now, when I do speak Spanish, I mix some English words in there. So a big part of me was learning Spanish. So when I got to college, I literally took like remedial Spanish because I needed the foundation. I didn't have it. So once I did that, I realized that's what I wanted to be. But it would be my first year in college that I was like, okay, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a Spanish-speaking doctor who serves the minorities and the communities in my neighborhood. And a big part of that was being from the Bronx. I'm a big Bronx girl. I just recently moved to Westchester, so I'm a little ashamed of that, but I always will love the Bronx because it's diverse, it's beautiful, it's raised me, and it has many beautiful aspects of it, of community and sense of community that I feel like is important to who I am. So that's me. Beyond that, I think other little things have added on here and there. Yeah. I'm a big animal person and all of that. So one of my biggest roles is to be an advocate for people and animals as well. So that's one thing that I really, really want to do.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I feel like apart from, our relationship and kind of having you here, the most important thing is to kind of know who you are and, what what type of person you are and what values you live by, right? So I feel like that's so important because it, like storytelling, right? Like you see, like you and I work together, and it was an experience, obviously, but we didn't really have that human, right, interaction where you're like, okay, who are you, like. And we found out that we love animals too. Like I have 2 dogs, you have a dog and a cat, and and we love animals. We advocate for animals. So it's something we have in common. So like through conversations and having that is that we find like our similarities and how we connect with each other. And I know for me, one of the experiences that was like pivotal, like recently, was when we were let go in April. And I felt like I went through this depression, frustration, uncertainty, loss of control. Like I've always been on top of my game, like full-time work, full-time, school, like, you know, always growing. And then when it's like, okay, we're ending in 2 months, I'm like, what? Like, I didn't expect that. But most importantly, like I applied everywhere and nobody called me. Or I would have like interviews here and there, but nobody like actually went through. And I was like, oh my God, like what's going on? I lost control of my life. I never felt that way before. Um, and so I wanted you to kind of, tell me like what was your experience when that was like addressed and when it actually happened.
Yeah, so I've been very lucky in my adult career that I have had connections. My first job, I had a connection because I worked for the nonprofit. I worked for a nonprofit and I became the receptionist for the community center because I was a student there. I did my SAT prep with them and they knew me and they wanted me to go on board. So I was really lucky in that. And a lot of, even being a COVID tracer, I knew someone who applied and I was like, you should apply too. And I applied and it wasn't something that I was looking for either. And I got it. And it was something that I was been really lucky. So now I haven't been so lucky. I've been applying. I apply at least like 2 different places a day. Don't hear back anything. And it just feels very disheartening because I find myself to be I hope I'm not a big head, but I find myself to be a very educated person. And I feel like even in interviews, I'm reasonable. I'm talkable, I'm able to talk to people. I feel like that's part of my identity as well. And to like not hear back.
Right. Yeah.
And like,
that hurts your ego.
It hurts so bad because even the pay, like the pay and to advocate for myself, because I know that lowering my pay is going to cause another ripples. There's effects and ripples, right? If I lower my pay now, I'm going to allow myself to do it later on. So it's been really hard to find a role that I'm qualified for, not overqualified. That's another thing. A lot of the roles I've applied for, I'm overqualified. And it's not fair. It's really not fair to like my identity, the identity crisis, right? It's just like, who the hell am I? Like, am I not an educated person with connections and references? Like, I have
exactly.
So it's really hard.
Go ahead.
No, it's just really hard to like look at myself in a different light and also remind myself that that's not my identity because of the lack of other people. The lack of job or whatever it may be, that's not my identity. It's really hard to say I'm unemployed to other people. I'm just like, oh, I'm unemployed,
It sounds weird. And it's so real. And thank you for sharing your experience because I feel like I really resonated. Like I lost control of like who I was. Like my resume looks pretty decent, like I have 8 years of experience. I have a master's degree in public health. I have a bachelor's, from Lehman. Like this looks pretty cool to me. And like some interviews like, oh, like pretty impressive resume. And I'm like, okay, so why are you guys not like inside of me, right? Why is it not working? And interviews go well, like I know how to express myself, answer the questions, I ask questions, it's pretty streamlined. And then I realized, I'm like, oh, God is doing this for a reason. Like I let it like go and let God kind of way, right? So I was like, this makes sense. Like the reason why people are not calling me because the position that I need or that's aligned with what I want is not there yet. And because I need time for myself. And like I said, I was depressed, frustrated, lost. I was in tears every so often. And I was telling my fiance, I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I recently bought a house. Like, we have to pay the mortgage. Like, what the hell are we going to do? And then I was like, you know what? Like, I'll survive. I will take unemployment. I'll apply here and there, obviously, but not as aggressively because I feel like that's the best thing that happened to me. And I rebirthed right with that insane experience where I felt so lost and so, out of control. I feel like I rebirthed because I have time for, things that I want to do. I recently started my podcast, I'm going to the gym. I'm eating healthier. I feel with more energy. I'm not just like in this race to like, oh my God, work, right? And I was like, oh my God,
it's a hidden blessing. It's a blessing in disguise. We hate every second of it, but we have to love what it is, really a big break.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's that was the blessing for me, is like being still and finding myself and what is it that I want to do. And like the next job that I will have is not just having a job. It's something that I really want to do, and not just because I want that salary or because I need a job, right? And because I have to be busy. It's because it's in alignment with what I really want. And I feel like in a very long time, I wasn't very thinking about those things I really want. I just wanted to be busy and like productive, if you will. Um, but like God is like, no, like you need time for yourself. You need to figure out what the hell you want, and this is the time.
It's so I relate to that so much, because even the same with me, and I was a person that pretty much like did exercise even with work, but now I find myself prioritizing it more, meeting certain goals. Like before I would have a very loose goal, like, oh, just go to the gym, but now it's more of like, do more like specific goals, go to the gym 5 times a week, something like that. And even with my pets, like just appreciating that I have a dog and she's here with me now. And before, I feel like her walks would be even a chore, like, now it's more enjoyable. I definitely agree with that keeping busy part, because I'm that person.
Yeah.
Like you should have seen my weeks so far. Like I have not been stagnant. Like I've been busy doing everything and everything for my family. Anyone asks me for something, sure, I'm free.
I'm free,
And,
yeah.
even if it's just like, what am I going to be doing? What else? And definitely doing the contact tracing was not easy. So I think I also isolated myself from my family in that way, that I was not doing errands, not helping out. Little things here and there I would, but not a lot. And now I'm able to like provide and like help and like be there, show my face.
Be intentional and present. I feel like being intentional and present. I feel like I wasn't present for a long time because I was trying to catch up and do so much, right?
Having that over your head, like for me, it was like I wouldn't be able to be present with my family because it was like I have work tomorrow. So that was my priority. I have work tomorrow. I want to go home. And the first hour, probably I'll be present. Second hour, I'm just ready to get out the door. It was exhausting to be that. Like, I don't want to see a grudge, like, but like a Grinch, like that. That's what it is, a Grinch.
Yes, it is. It's so crazy. And what lessons would you say that you learned during COVID and your experience in, I would say, the last 2 years?
Everyone is going through something. Everyone in different degrees and different moments than you. Because it was just something that you saw in people's faces. Well, I saw in people's faces when I went to their door. Like just knowing that there's so many underlying issues than just having COVID, having COVID, it's not having food, not having childcare, not having access to things. Like, and I feel like I was pretty knowledgeable in that in the beginning, but to see it front face with another thing, COVID being a thing, it was just tough, and like also trying to like not, also knowing that I couldn't help people as much as I thought I could. Like I felt really helpless a lot of the times because all I could do is say, you need to call this number. Providing even just a phone for them to call was the most I could do, and hoping that sooner or later they'll get the help that they need. So that was one of the things that I definitely learned, that everyone's going through something, and if you could just lend a hand or a phone call or give them a number, that's more than enough. Because realistically, I can't take the world by myself, right?
Yeah, that's true. It takes a village to do anything, really. And I felt you did what you could, but you felt some gratitude and impact in what you did, right? Because some people were like so happy to see you.
Yeah, and like some people were like, "You want to come in, have a seat?" No, I can't. Like, Senora, you can't have company. Like, I cannot. I cannot. And it's really sad because a lot of elderly were really lonely. If their kids were in healthcare settings, they wouldn't see their kids because their kids didn't want to like expose them. If they had grandchildren, they couldn't see the grandchildren because the grandchildren were in school. So there was a lot of elderly people that I kept in contact with even after. Like they'll call me here and there and just like, "Oh, what do that?" I'm like, "I'm good. Like, how are you?" And just making sure that you're full circle. They would call my work phone, and it would be a good time to know that in some way or form I did help other people. and very little bit, you know, even if it's just a phone call.
Yeah, a phone call, smile, how are you, you know, that goes a long way for people, especially when things was all like we were isolated in our own way.
Mhm.
And so like empty, right? Because you said this earlier, like you could see it in people's faces, like we were going through something. And I remember when I was at Monty still before I started testing trace, I used to go in every day into the hospital at Moses. And you know, you would see the body bags, you would see everybody with their masks, their goggles, and their gowns and everything. Everybody was like full on. You could barely see who the hell you were like walking. But if you did see your friend, you couldn't hug. And I went to see like one of my friends, and we were like very close. She's like my best friend. And I went to see her at the CHAM entrance. She was giving out masks for people who come into the building. And I saw her, and like obviously we wanted to hug, but we couldn't hug because protocol, right? We were freaking working, and we couldn't hug. It's the pandemic, and I just started crying. I was like, this cannot be it. Like, I was like broken. I was like, I can't even hug my best friend.
Yeah. Oh no, that's horrible.
Yeah, that was horrible. That was a bad experience, and I feel like that was like marking. And it was like just, you know, walking past my coworkers that you used to like say hi to and have a conversation. So like you don't even know them. Just walking past by because people have their own things. Or it's like you just, and this was very early on. Like this was like I was in the hospital from March to June, and then June I left.
Wow. Okay. Wow. So you're in the thick of it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's when it
I
actually started. Yeah.
feel like by June, things got a little bit more laxed in the terms of like people just not caring as much.
Exactly.
Because by June, I remember my family coming over for dinner, and that was like the first time everyone came to my house for my birthday. It was for my birthday in June. Yeah.
Oh.
So I made an effort, and like I made sure everyone got tested and everything. And I had just started COVID training, so I was learning everything that was going on, and like I had already agreed for everyone to come. We even ordered takeout. Like that's how like crazy it was. Like it was just like, let's order takeout. It's eat quick, and
Yeah.
less than an hour, everyone was out.
Wow.
Yeah, but I remember that in March and June. March was really hard. But I remember even like the term social distancing being given the fault for a lot of the isolation, because they should have called it physical distancing. Because when you're social, you think I can't be friends with my friends. I can't be friends with my friends the way I wanted to. And you know, of course, FaceTime and everything existed, but there was some sort another layer of isolation.
Yeah.
Like with that. And I definitely agree that social distancing was the wrong term to use for COVID.
Yeah, that's huge. I never really thought of that.
I read an article on it and I was like, wow, that makes sense. Because even like people were isolating themselves within their household and like not talking to anyone because they were worried. And it's just, I don't know. It was really hard.
It was. But we made it through. Yeah, we made it through. We made it through.
Our relationships at the end, I'm sorry, but a lot of people broke up. And I don't get me wrong, I feel like I could have been there too, but it's just, it was really hard to like live with a partner and be with them 24/7.
Yes.
No one else.
Yes. I could agree.
A lot of passive aggressive remarks were made. And forgive me.
Exactly. Being with somebody that, and I was talking to a friend earlier about this, is like before COVID, you know, there was a lot of distractions that kind of really blinded people of their reality, right? Their partners, their family, parents, whoever they live with. And then COVID, people were indoors, stuck with people like all the time. It was like, damn, I can't stand this person, right? Or sitting with your thoughts or your frustration or your traumas and things like that. So that's why so much things came out, because people were forced to sit down in their houses. And obviously we didn't, right? Like you and I, we were in the front lines, and I worked Monty, you know, in June, and then it was Chest and Trace until now. So I never really had a break to like grief. Like I lost family members, my grandma, I lost my aunt, my godfather, and you know, and friends and stuff like that. And it was hard, but like, you know, up to like catching up. I feel like recently I kind of catch something like, oh shit, you know, because we were like in the front lines, like busy. So we didn't really feel that grief or that like settling of like, okay, let's think, because we were busy.
I think a lot of it for me too was filtering the grief. Like there were so many grief, daily, talking to people over the phone. Like I felt like I wasn't allowed to feel grief because I had to be a stable mind, I guess, for someone else over the phone. And it was hard because I remember going to people's homes and asking, like being that first person to ask for their loved one, and for them to have to say out loud, they're gone, they're not here anymore. So for me, I don't want to cry, but it was really hard. And like I broke protocol one day because I hugged a lady because she told me that she just like basically she hugged me and I hugged her after. And I just like I felt that that was the first time she ever had to say it to someone in their face. Like hearing their loved one's name out of someone else's mouth and then having to say, those words, those very heavy words. It was a like big realization. Yeah. I want to keep it light, but
the work that you did, I would say, like, because you like knock on the doors and stuff like that, like that work was like incredible, because like you said, it's not only the grief of the deaths, but like all the things that people are going through just because of the pandemic, and all that baggage and all the layers of lack of access, lack of food, lack of Well, thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate your time here. I feel like there's so much more that we can unpack and talk about.
So many layers.
Yeah, so many layers. But I feel like this is the first step to kind of open the door to like our experience together and kind of close that chapter, right, of our lives.
I definitely agree. Like I needed some closure from COVID, because just saying out loud that it ended, and I always tell people I'm happy it ended. I'm happy my job ended, because the reality was, if I still had my job, that meant that COVID was still around, and in the gravity and in the saturation that it wasn't, right?
Right.
So I have to say that I'm happy, but sad at the same time that I'm closing a chapter of my life.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. Gem and Me is your home too. I hope that we can collaborate in other areas. This is your home. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I am so grateful that you're here listening to my podcast, Gem and Me. I hope that you continue to share, continue to listen on very important topics that I discuss in my growth and journey to what is called life. I hope that you're able to learn and explore different values and things that you have within you. I really hope to serve as a support system and a community to those who need that inspiration in that community, because I know that I needed this, I still do, but like growing up, I feel like I needed something where I can, see the examples and have a support system. So I hope to serve as such. Thank you for listening and have a great one.